Hi guys! So hopefully you watched my last video, which was a book review of Cell by Stephen King, and you will know that this is a movie review of the movie adaptation of said book. So today we're going to be talking about Cell, which came out this year, 2016, and stars John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. So if you didn't watch my first video, I'm just going to give a basic rundown of the plot. It's the same as the book, but basically it is about a phenomenon called the pulse, and basically the pulse is like a message that is sent out to every cell phone, and anyone who is on their cell phone at the time of the pulse ends up becoming very animalistic and starts attacking and killing anyone who is around them. And as time progresses, they sort of start becoming these mindless zombies. They are supposed to start gaining powers, but the movie doesn't really do that. But I'll talk about that later. But they progress and they become mindless zombies. They start gaining powers, and it follows a group of survivors as they're traveling across New England. And they're trying to not only survive, but they're trying to find the family of the one main character named Clay. I did not like this movie at all. I was very let down by it because the book is a very well-written book. It's very descriptive, and there are a lot of vibrant scenes in it. When I say vibrant, they're just like scenes that like stick in your mind, and when you're reading the scene, you're like, wow, this is going to be really cool to see like an actual, visual version of this scene, because I'm reading it and it sounds really interesting and it sounds pretty horrifying and gruesome. I can't wait to see it on screen. And then half of those scenes aren't even in the movie, because the movie tends to leave out a lot of scenes and they just completely delete a couple of characters from the book, which I don't like. I am all for taking your creative justices when you are adapting a book into a movie or TV show. But if you're going to do it, please do not get rid of characters or vital scenes where, important information about the situation at hand is being revealed. In the book, we learn that the phoners, the people who have been affected by the pulse, are starting to gain powers such as telepathy, and they start levitating, and they can control the minds of the survivors. In the movie, none of that happens. But when they start getting into their like huge hordes, and they start having like their groupthink mentality, there's no explanation for it, and there's no like addressing it. The characters are just kind of like, okay, that's happening. They're not like, oh my god, they're all thinking together, they're all banding together. It's not, every man for themselves at this point. It's us versus a group of them. They're working together. And I think that's a very important thing to bring up, the fact that it's not these characters just fighting whichever phoners they come across. It's these characters are fighting literally thousands and thousands of phoners. Their lives are at stake. It's such a small group against such a big group, and it's not even really addressed in the movie. The movie did a lot of things different from the book, which, like I said, I'm okay with that, but only if it makes sense. The beginning scene of the book takes place on a street in Boston, so there is a lot more room for destruction in the opening scene when the pulse first comes out. In the book, there are cars crashing, there's people killing each other, there are planes crashing, there's trains derailing, all kinds of stuff. In the movie, it takes place in an airport. Now, I'm guessing that they made this change to make it more affordable, because it's probably way cheaper to film such a, graphic, technical scene in a small contained area. But thinking about it, it would have been much more effective if it was on a street, because it would have made the direness and the lack of safety in this situation so much more effective and so much more horrifying, But that's just me. I don't know, maybe you guys would find it more scary if it did happen, when you were in an airport. But to me, I feel like if you're out in the public, on the street somewhere, and there's cars crashing all over the place, there's planes going everywhere. I mean, there's this part where two planes end up crashing into each other right outside the airport, but that's about it. And the graphics weren't even that good with that. But that's just me being nitpicky. This is something that entertained me, and it's not a complaint. It's just something that I thought was hilarious. I don't know if you guys remember from like years and years ago on the internet, there was that like Russian guy who was singing the Trollolololo song. Basically, that song is played a lot in this movie because in the book, the phoners end up like playing music at night while they're recharging. And so in the movie, when they're recharging, they end up playing the Trollolololo song over and over and over. And I'm like, why? It's just funny. Like, to me, it's just funny because that song has been ruined for me because of all the memes and all the jokes and everything that came out around the time that that video gained popularity. I don't know. I just thought it was hilarious that was like the choice that they made. I don't even know why I'm making this a point in my video. I just wanted to point out the fact that they used a meme in their movie. Like, I think that just made it even more of a train wreck in my eyes. In the book, there is a character called the Raggedy Man, and he is like the leader of all the phoners, and he keeps showing up and he keeps threatening the main characters. He pretty much is always watching them. He keeps showing up wherever they are. He shows up in their dreams, and he starts controlling them. He's able to take over their minds and make them do things. In the movie, he's just dumbed down to just a character who just stands there and just stares at them a lot. And it's just dumb. I don't like what they did with his character at all. He was much scarier in the book because if you think about it, he can make them do anything. He could make them kill each other. He could make them kill themselves. He could make them, pick up a phone and become one of them. Like, he literally could control them and make them do anything. But in the movie, he's just kind of standing there, just watching them. And it wasn't as scary as it could have possibly been. Like, he's a fantastically written character, and they did not take the chance that they had to make and create this really scary character that they're given. They had an opportunity to do so. It sucks because in the book he is such a terrifying, well-written character, and the filmmakers had this awesome character right in front of them that they could have easily taken to the next level and made him even more terrifying, but they didn't. And that's what sucks. And I just really, really wish that they had made him as scary as he was in the book, because it was, I don't even know how to describe it. He was just really uncomfortable. I keep using that word to describe this book and the characters in it, but like that's what I felt. I felt uneasy and uncomfortable and just not safe, and I feel like that's easily what they could have done, but they just kind of stripped this character of all of his personality and his powers to do nothing. That's another thing. There are characters who die in this. There are main characters who die. But every single main character in this movie who dies completely differently from how they do in the book. And I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but like in the book, their deaths and how they die like set off a chain reaction, and they are the reasons why certain plot elements move the way that they do. So when you change the way that someone dies in a movie, you change how the plot shifts. You change it all, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. The way that some of these characters died in the movie made absolutely no sense, and it just felt strange. It made it not as scary, So, like I said, I really did not enjoy this movie. I'm kind of lumping it in with the other really, really bad Stephen King adaptations. I don't know what it is with him, but like most of his books that get adapted into movies or TV shows end up being horrible when it comes to like referencing the source material. Like they'll either change too much of it or it'll just be really, really bad. So I didn't care for this movie. It just follows in the path of other Stephen King movies where it strays so far from the source material that it's a little ridiculous. So yeah. I don't recommend that you see Cell. I recommend that you read the book instead because the book is more entertaining and explained better. It's well written and it's not dumb like this movie. I thought this movie was dumb. So I'm Heaven, I do horror, and I don't recommend that you see Cell. Please, just read the book instead. Please.